Right, welcome back guys. Thank you so much for watching and thanks for tuning in guys. Now, the channel has been growing, so I would like to first and foremost say a massive thank you to everyone who has supported the channel, everyone that has subscribed recently, the guys that are leaving the comments. So as a way of giving back, every 2 weeks I am going to do a YouTube Q&A where I will answer all of your questions, or as many as I physically can, with a YouTube video. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to do the YouTube Q&A. You will leave your comments below with the questions that you want me to cover in the future, or any specific topics that you want me to cover in more depth in a separate video. Now, one of the comments has been around post-show and post-diet approach. So I will cover that in depth in my next video that will drop very, very soon, so look out for that one. But first and foremost, today we will have the Q&A. We've got my man Joe behind the camera. He will ask the questions and I will get them covered and answered for you. So thank you so much guys, and again, please support the channel, please subscribe to the channel, support me, show me some love, and I will give back to you by doing the Q&As. And any way I can to support you guys, I will always do so through trying to either reply to your comments or bring you helpful content that will only improve your own journey as an athlete or as a coach. So let's get it. Joe, what have you got for me? Hit me.
So first question is from Thomas. He says, what would you recommend to do when appetite slows down when you're in a bulk?
Great question. Now, there's numerous things that you can actually do. I would often look at your meal timing and your structure to your day. When appetite slows down, I think it's extremely important to keep structure to your day with one, your meal timing, but also your wake time and sleep times. I often see people get deeper into the off season and they often allow the routine to slip where they start waking up earlier, start eating later, and that then plays into the time later on in the day when they're playing catch up with the meals. As your food volume gets higher, it's inevitable that your appetite isn't going to be the best. So I would always advise waking up earlier, starting eating early. Another tool that I stand by massively is digestive enzymes, especially as food gets higher. Digest Pharma Pro from tradebyjp.com is absolutely tremendous. It contains betaine, HCl, and other ingredients that do improve digestion. Now, secondly, 5 to 10 minute walk after your biggest meals. Generally, what I like to do personally is I will eat a meal, then any chores I have around the house, whether that's getting my next meal ready or something to do around the kitchen, I will always save that and I will always do that after I had eaten just to get some movement in place. And that always allows me to have better digestion, especially if food volume is higher. Now, alternatively, a 5 to 10 minute walk will make a huge difference to your digestion. When you're walking and you're basically moving side to side, it actually improves your digestion through moving your gut pretty much this way as you're walking. So not only you get better blood sugar control, but you also get improved digestion with 5 to 10 minute walks. Now, try to avoid drinking water with your meals. Makes you sit down in a nice relaxed environment. Sitting upright makes a big difference to your digestion as well. A lot of people slouch when they eat, and a lot of people tend to eat on sofa. That is not good for digestion at all. Chew your meals nice and slow and make sure that you actually take your time with them. Don't just take a bite, water, and swallow it down. Take your time with the meals and make them more palatable as well as your food gets higher. Also look at making your food volume smaller. So sometimes little things like adding less water to your rice, making sure that you may use mincemeat instead, which is much easier on digestion. There's numerous things that you can actually do. And ultimately, if you do get a little bit too fluffy and your appetite has diminished to that degree, you may actually need a mini cut as well. So there's various different ways that you can approach this. But again, ultimately, it would depend on why your appetite has slowed down. I know that was a bit more probably a bit more in depth, but look, you get the questions, I'll give you the answers, guys.
Next question is from Nadine. She says, you've covered the cardio question when it comes to being on prep.
Yep.
What about in off season?
Great question. It depends. As everything, I think cardio, it needs to be based off someone's needs. If someone is already extremely active, which a lot of females that I work with already are, I don't actually include any formal cardio within the actual environment that they're in because they are already quite active. So Meg, for example, she naturally hits between 12 to 15,000 steps even in the off season. So it would make no sense to add additional cardio on top of that because all that would do then is drive further fatigue. With my heavier guys and bodybuilders that I know are not quite as on point with the daily activity and the way they do the steps, I often do implement cardio in the off season. Personally, I am quite active. I do a 20-minute power walk every single morning, and when I walk, it is a power walk, so it is pretty much like cardio. And then I roughly hit 8 to 10,000 steps every single day. Now, I do implement cardio when I actually need it. So if I start to see my resting heart rate trend up, and if I start to see that my work capacity in the gym slows down with my recovery between sets, or even my gas tank within the set, that is when I may implement cardio in the off season. If you are a female that is not quite as active and you've got your baseline needs, so your baseline steps set at around 8 to 10,000, then potentially 1 to 2 cardio sessions of moderate to high intensity with low duration would be my go-to. So 15 minutes of intervals potential on a spin bike, which will not actually impact your recovery that much, but will give you what you need for health. Now, generally, for me, I like a mixture of steps personally for myself and the work that I do on the gym floor. All my sessions, especially my back training and my leg training, do have some higher up work in there that does challenge my cardiovascular capacity and improve that alongside of it. So there's a million one ways to skin a cat. So again, needs basics, guys.
Next question is from user. And they say, do you offer coaching for natural fitness and non-competitive people?
Yes, so we do offer coaching for non-competitors within our coaching umbrella. I do not personally coach non-competitors. However, my coaches get my full support. So the way it works is my coach will lead in the actual person, and I will be overseeing the whole process and giving them support that they actually need. I only coach competitors, and I do work with a lot of natural athletes that actually compete. Tomorrow I actually have 3 natural guys compete in one show. Sorry, 4 guys compete tomorrow in natural show. And to be honest, 40% of my competitive guys are actually natural. So I have always prepped and had night clients. And to me, I really love doing that, because prepping guys who are assisted is extremely easy. It really is. When you have a coach that can actually get a natural athlete in true legit condition, I've done that numerous times. That's when you know that someone can actually think outside the box, and someone doesn't just leverage supplementation to aid in the process.
So Jenia says, please share your view on having a treat/dessert or some not so healthy food once a week in your off season. When calories are high and you eat nutritious food 98% of the time, get your micronutrients well, etc. Does it matter if you eat off plan every now and then?
No, it doesn't. What really matters is your portion control and how you eat off plan. If, for example, you've already got your baseline calories set at 3,500 calories, right? If one time per week, out of that 3,500 calories, you choose to eat 800 calories that are not so clean, and it's an off-plan meal, it's not going to make any difference. What will make a difference is if you have your calories set at 3,500 calories every single day, and every single week you eat 1,000 or 800 calories on top of that, that is when you are driving your surplus up through off-plan meals, and that is when people just generally just get fatter from them. Off-plan meals are never an issue, and this is what I try and educate my clients with the documents I always give them, and kind of resources that I give to my clients have all this information on there that they can actually learn from. I am a massive believer of having a degree of balance for a lot of athletes, and the way I coach different people varies person to person. Some guys, I know that they need to be locked in. Some people I know that I need to give them a little bit more freedom, and we do need to work in a different fashion. Again, there's a million one ways to skin a cat, right? One set approach will not work for everyone, and I will never expect people to operate like me. I personally very rarely eat off plan because I love my food and I thrive in a routine, and that's what makes me happy, but that's not what I expect everyone else to do. Key is managing your calorie intake. Once a week, if you have an off-plan meal, but you are still within your calorific needs, it's never a problem. So key is making sure that you eat to your needs, not above them. Where off-plan eating becomes problematic is when people eat above their needs. And then what generally happens, Joe, is people, for example, can actually eat in maintenance across the week or even a slight deficit. And then one time per week, they'll have a massive meal that's easily done. 5 Guys, right? Everyone loves 5 Guys. But if you eat 2,000 calories, which 5 Guys is just 1 burger and chips, 2,000 calories done. If you eat 2,000 calories on top of your meals every single week, one time per week, you will likely be eating in a deficit all week. If you are eating in a deficit all week, you are going to be hungry all the time. You will have poor energy, poor sleep, poor training performance, but your body weight will still continue to go up. Now, if your training performance is poor and all these factors are suffering, what do you think is going to happen? You just get fatter. You don't grow much muscle. And that's how people basically ruin their off seasons. Sorry, I know it's not straight answers, but I do want to cover them in a little bit more depth just to give you the full picture. Next.
Sammy says, hey Kuba and Meg, what is your take, if any, on nicotine in bodybuilding, off-season and prep?
I'm not a fan personally. I just don't think that for some of the nootropic benefits it may have, or even appetite suppression, I just don't think developing an addiction to it, which it is easily done, is worth it. Because when you have been using nicotine over a period of time, your body will develop a little bit of dependence on it. And then when you try to cease the use of it, the cravings for it are going to be extremely high, and you may even get withdrawal symptoms, which is something that might be a bit of a nightmare. In my opinion, especially with assisted bodybuilding, you already have a lot of things that you need to consider from a health perspective. So nicotine could be one thing that you could shelve.
They say, in the event of a contest prep and something unexpected and time consuming comes up, which of the variables like increase in training, energy expenditure, etc., would you start manipulating to make sure that they finish the prep and keep on track as best as possible?
This is why you give yourself extra time for what if moments. This is why you start prep earlier and you have that buffer time in case moments like this happen. Because if this happens and then you lose a week, when you've lost a week in prep, there's nothing you can do to make up for it. So if you don't have that time, I would simply reschedule your contest, because I see it time and time again. People have these events happen, right, within their life in prep. They do not give themselves enough time to actually get contest ready. They lose time and then try to make up for it through pushing hard and eating less and suffering more. And that is when the physique just starts to fade. So you don't actually get better results, you just get worse physique and you just get worse. So in this instance, I would need to pivot. And again, you would need to assess the timeline that you have and whether you are on track or already behind, whether you have any spare time within that timeline. If you have accounted for spare time, which I always do with my athletes, then it will be easily done. If you haven't, you will simply need to postpone the show.
So Dennis says, I have 5 days to train from Monday to Friday. I work on Saturdays and Sundays and the gym is not open. How can I divide my training into 5 days in the push-pull legs model?
You've got two options here. You could do a push-pull legs model where it could be push, pull, rest, legs, upper, then take 2 days rest. Or in my opinion, what you could also explore is upper lower, where you could go upper lower, rest, upper lower, and then rest, rest. This way, you would have frequency of training everything twice per week. Now, extra here for you guys, because I have covered templates of push-pull leg training and upper lower training already on my YouTube channel. So check it out. You can actually get free templates for upper lower training and push-pull leg training that you can use for yourself within your own training. So Dennis, if you are struggling for ideas, I already have you covered on the channel. You're welcome.
Question from Gord. They say, what advice would you give yourself in the early days of competing?
Oh, amazing questions. I love questions like this, to be honest, because if I was to take my time back, right, I don't think I'd change anything. But what I would actually do is reinvest into my education much earlier than I actually did. I started leaning into exploring different ideas and seeking knowledge from 2015 and 16, right? But at that time, the resources that we've had were very limited, and the knowledge was just so much limited as well, so much more limited. You did not have as much people bringing out amazing content like we do now with legit valuable stuff, right? You had a lot of guys that was, I wouldn't even say bro science, but you had a lot of guys that was just preaching complete BS, right? And everything evolves, and I think bodybuilding has evolved so much since then. But one thing that I would tell myself back then is, do not lose belief in yourself. That's something that I definitely suffered with in many instances. The main one would definitely be, make sure that you stay patient and don't rush things. I think my urgency to progress and my urgency to keep stepping forward sometimes cost me, because I would often overtrain and quite literally make myself sick. I would not deload. I would go in the gym and I would go as hard as possible until I basically made myself sick. And I always remember, it's like, I never intentionally deloaded, but every 7 weeks I'd get to a point where my immune system would be so smashed, I would literally get either diarrhea or sickness. So I'd have to rest for 3 to 4 days, and then I'd be good to go again for another 6 to 7 weeks. So right now, instead of getting sick, I just simply take a deload every 5 to 7 weeks, which is a much smarter idea, right? Secondly, I would rush my food. You know, I would try and push my body weight up too quickly. Basically staying patient and embracing the marathon and the process, which I always embrace the process of bodybuilding, right? And that's what I've always been big on. And everyone that knows me knows how consistent I've always been. So consistency and commitment to the game has never been an issue, right? Sometimes my downfall was being too eager to keep pushing and progressing, right? And I think that's what actually ultimately cost me making substantial progress. So yeah, definitely that would be the one. Now, if I could rewind time back and if I could go again with the knowledge that I have right now, I would definitely be a lot further ahead than I am right now. But again, everything happens for a reason, right? I am where I am right now, and I have the knowledge that I have right now because of the experiences that I had and because of the journey that I've had. So I'm incredibly grateful for bodybuilding and the life that I've had so far. And I'm incredibly excited for the future as well, because it's a funny old game, because I've been doing this since I was pretty much a kid, right? And I can't even tell you that the longer I do this right now, the more sucked in I get. As of recent, I'm more passionate about this than I've ever been before. And I'm more locked into this than I've ever been before. So bodybuilding is a beautiful sport. And for me, it's definitely a true passion, right? Because when you are passionate about something and you're able to do it on a day-to-day basis, the happiness that you get from it doesn't compare to anything else. And I only wish that some people could experience that, right? I don't think people experience living a life like that very, very often. If people did, I think they would enjoy their life much more.
Best suggestion for eating time for someone that works an overnight shift?
My suggestion would be, if you start your night shift on that day, I would actually have an extra couple of meals. And then obviously on your last day of night shift, you might actually eat less meals. So you would just shift your meal timing as you would normally throughout the day. And then obviously you may actually need more meals or less meals. On your last day of this night shift, when you finish your night shift and you switch back your routine and you go to bed at normal time, you may only get a window of 6 hours to eat, right? So on that day, it only makes sense to eat less food. On the day when you're staying up, extra couple of meals won't hurt. It's literally as simple as that. And obviously utilising tools like melatonin and dream sleep from sharebyGP.com code Kuba10 will definitely have great benefits trying to shift that circadian rhythm as well. And my best piece of advice would be, get a job where you don't work night shifts. Terrible for you.
Thoughts on nutrition carb optimization using data from a continuous glucose monitor?
Useless, literally useless. If you want to keep on top of your blood sugars, don't get fat, stay fit, do not ruin your sensitivity by having large untracked meals. Make sure that you actually hit all your micronutrient needs, not just macronutrient needs. So what I mean by that is your veg, fruit intake, hitting your fiber, making sure you actually get adequate vitamins and minerals from your actual food. I use Chronometer, I'm not sure if you've heard of it. I put all my food into my Chronometer app, and I make sure that my diet year round, even in prep, and I mean even a week out, I hit all my micronutrient needs in my Chronometer. One variable that doesn't actually change for me, whether I'm prepping off season, is the veg and fruit that I actually eat. I eat, at the moment, it's probably gonna be a bit heavier, but year round, I have 500 grams of variety of fruit between berries, and again, it's a mixture of berries basically, right? Then I add bananas and stuff on top, but they're not as macronutrient dense. Pick the fruits that are always the most macronutrient dense, which is variety of berries, and then mixture of different veg. I have 500 grams of fruit and 500 grams of veg. That's a minimum I have throughout the day. Veg wise, it's a mixture between peppers, mushrooms, asparagus, and spinach, and kimchi. I basically hit all my micronutrient needs through variety of food sources, like my red meats, eggs, wild salmon, different fat sources as well. So use Chronometer app. Guys, thank you so much for the questions. If you want your questions answered, please comment below and I will get you covered. Joe, thank you so much. The captain, he's done me a solid here. He will be on board for the next Q&A, guys. And next video we'll see will be a topic covering contest prep. I will not do a full lecture on this because I do this as part of my mentorship program with MK Coaching. So if you want to look into that, drop me an email and I'll get you hooked up. But I will give you a little bit of an insight on how I roll with the lectures that I provide my mentees with. So get ready for that one. It's going to be a great one. It's a monster to cover. I actually covered this in my lecture for them yesterday, and it was a 45-minute lecture that was pretty damn intense. Probably about 20 slides covering everything in depth, from post-show recovery, how to approach it, what expectations are. It covers everything in depth. But again, I will give you a bit of a preview, and I'll cover some of that for you on YouTube just to give back to you guys and give you a helping hand to manage your post-show and post-diet phases. And I think Joe will definitely benefit from that as well himself, given that he has just come out of his show. So guys, thank you so much again. Peace out and take care for now.